Hey there. In this episode, number 321, we are answering the question, why is content licensing one of the fastest ways to scale? Welcome to the SweetLife Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm April Beach, your host, and I'm excited to dive in with you. First of all, who is this show for? It's for established subject matter experts, coaches, consultants, speakers, and authors. You guys are really good at what you do. You have trainings and programs and processes and models and content that can be useful for other businesses. And we're diving into why is content licensing such a magical, fast, scalable business opportunity. If you aren't familiar with what content licensing is, go back and listen to episode 320 where I unpack the actual definition of content licensing for you. So in this show, we're going to unpack here why is content licensing a fast, scalable option and who it's for. I'm also going to share with you stories. I promise you guys in this entire series we're doing on content licensing that I want you to hear stories from my clients and from me about how we have licensed their content. Because there is no cookie cutter way. And the purpose of sharing you stories with you, stories and case studies, is that I want you to be able to think in your own mind, oh my gosh, this could work for me, or what about a variation of this? And that's how it could work for me as well. And so everything that I want to pour into you here is all strategy, and it's proven regarding my experience over the last decade consulting subject matter experts, coaches, and consultants about how to scale your business through content licensing. So now let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, what is scaling, right? So I have other podcast episodes on the difference between growth and scale. And I feel like it's important to actually do a basic definition of that here. So growing is where we increase our investment. So we usually increase our costs, but also we're increasing our profit. So we're investing more, whether it's more time or more money or more teams or more ad spend in order to actually grow the profit. Scaling is where we are not increasing our costs. We are not increasing our time. Scaling is where that is staying the same. And we're going to talk about the magic of content licensing because that actually goes down while we're increasing our profits. So in order to truly scale, I know that word is thrown around a lot in the coaching and consulting space, but in order to truly scale, this actually means thinking about what is this strategy where I can increase my profit, actually decrease my workload while increasing my free time. And it doesn't require me to spend a whole lot more time and money to do that. So if that's what you're looking for, stay with me here. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the coaching and consulting space. I've been coaching coaches for 27 years with an area of expertise and specialty to online coaches and consultants since 2006. So a really long time. I don't even know how long that is. It's 2024 right now. So with that being said, initially, like the really big buzz around scaling was going from one-on-one to one-on-group. And that is a very important way to scale. We work with our clients all the time to actually model and grow their consulting programs in that way, right? But I want to define what we know about scaling as far as the majority of the knowledge of the coaching and consulting space so far. So we know that going one-on-one to one-on-group is a really great and powerful way to scale. We also know that doing things like pre-recording trainings and putting them on demand, so evergreen online courses, is another really great way to scale. So basically you're teaching the same content, but to many people at a time. That is a very powerful way to grow your business. So let's kind of leave that sitting here on this beautiful platter, because that is scaling coaching and consulting businesses. Now I want to elevate a different dining room table, if you will. And I want to open up the opportunity for something that will blow your mind in terms of scaling from that first platter. So if you have an established course, training, content, process, methodology that you have been teaching to people, whether it's one-on-one, you don't even have to have scaled it on that side of the business. Imagine now allowing for other companies to teach it for you. Imagine allowing other companies to actually distribute that content and training for you. Imagine what that would do. Because even in a traditional scaling model, you're still the one doing it. Or if you did advance to the point that you have somebody on your team doing it, that's awesome. But it's still coming from the effort of your company. Okay, so it's still coming from the effort that is put into the service, the consulting, the product, whether it's on demand or it's live, being delivered from you or your team or your company. And let's just be really honest. With all the marketing in the world, you're only going to affect so many people. What are you going to have, like 8 billion students in your online course, right? That's a silly thing to say, right? It's totally impossible. So there is only so much you can do, even with all the ad spend and all the marketing and all the reach and all the partners and all the Instagram followers and all the YouTube subscribers. There's only so much you can do because it's still coming from the effort of your company. Whereas with content licensing, now imagine, so you're selling it here. Let me go back to the other side first. You still have to sell it to each one of the individuals who's going to be in there, whether they're one-on-one or one-on-group. It's still your sales process. Now imagine selling it one time to another company and they turn around and either sell it or distribute it to all of their people. You only have to sell it or license it once. And they get to flood your intellectual property out to all of their people. They're the ones that do the effort to sell it, to enroll people into it. That is the power of content licensing. Imagine taking that same course that you have been teaching in whatever format that was, or that same training, or that same live workshop that you've been going into organizations and delivering this workshop. Maybe that same process that you've been taking other teams through. And rather than you doing it, imagine another company enrolling people into it, selling it, getting the buy-in, and delivering your processes and trainings and programs on your behalf. We can go sell one-to-one and fill up a training program with 100 people in it. Imagine what selling one-to-one company would do when you are going to reap the benefits of 100, 500, 1,000, or 10,000 people receiving that training. That is the ultimate exponential scalability. That's what we're talking about here with content licensing. And it's so big sometimes, like the potential of the reach is so huge that you might feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this. And I'm going to be sharing other podcast episodes with you on who's ready, who's qualified to do this. But just here in this space with me today, just give yourself a minute to absorb that. Instead of enrolling students, clients, people into your training one-on-one, even if it's scaled, even if you're teaching it in a group format, imagine selling it to one business, one company, whether it's a huge organization or a coach just like you, who enrolls their students into it. And that is the power of content licensing. And that's why I want to share with you, it is truly one of the fastest ways to scale because we have all these other strategies that work well. Again, I've been teaching clients how to do it for years and years. But this is the one way where we know that we can duplicate you faster while reducing your time. And in the end of it, extending the reach of your work because that's what people want. That's what everybody wants. And so I promised you that I would share stories and case studies about my own experiences with licensing and our clients' experiences with licensing. So here's your story of the day. All right. So in the last episode, I shared a story about how I licensed one training program. And I licensed that one training program to one brick and mortar and then a group of brick and mortar businesses. Now I'm going to tell you what happened next, which is so cool. I took that same course, listen to this, and I licensed it to 10 other coaches just like me all around the United States. And then it gets even better. And then I charged for sponsorships of that course to product manufacturers. I kept the money for that. And then the course was promoted with huge media outlets, like at the time, Whole Foods Market, not a media outlet, but Whole Foods Market sponsored the class. The Bump.com magazine sponsored the class. The Environmental Working Group sponsored the class. I had huge sponsors where my company was able to keep the sponsorship money, and I was able to profit by licensing the opportunity to be able to teach my course across the country by other coaches. They paid me for that. Imagine what that can do for your business. You guys, this is from one course that was well engineered, that was a sought after training. I was able to license it to other consultants, let me say that again, and sell sponsorships into that class. And I did nothing. I did nothing but sell the sponsorships, release the content license agreement, and away they went. And I, at the time when I did this, I had 3 baby boys. I was working from home like I still do. And my boys were at the time probably 6, 4, and 3 years old. You can imagine what my house was like, how crazy it was. I was literally sitting in my office on the other side of the wall. They were like building Legos and probably throwing each other down the stairs. It didn't require me to be some strategic licensing expert. It was so much easier than you think. And I just want to open up the world of licensing to you. Imagine that, because before I had done that, again, I had been teaching my trainings and courses one-on-one to clients. And yes, I did have online courses at the time. Yes, we had online courses back in 2007 and 2008. Imagine what this could do for your business. Imagine what that life would look like for you. And that's what I want to share with you on today's podcast. Taking one course, one training, and imagine what you can do with it. And that's the power of content licensing. And that's exactly what we teach our clients to do, so that you can do the same thing that I did and many of our clients did. So if you're interested in learning more about scaling through licensing and you want to work with us, you can cruise over to sweetlifeco.com. Certainly subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm always releasing content and strategies that are proven that you can take to the bank. And if you want to tap in, we have an actual free licensing 101 video where I actually break out the 4 different case studies about how I got started in licensing. This is one of 4 other ways that are going to blow your mind. Not because I'm great, because it's going to blow your own mind about your own ability and your own potential to do this yourself. And I'm so excited for you to experience this and just to be able to open up the world of licensing to you, and certainly to be able to hold your hand and guide you through it. So if you want to tap into that video, cruise over to licensing-tools.com. And there's a free licensing 101 video where I unpack case studies that will blow your own mind for yourself. That's what we want for you. This is episode 321 here on the Sweet Life Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm April Beach. If we've never met before, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you. You can also follow us on Instagram. We are always here to answer your questions. Thanks so much for listening to the show, and I will talk to you in the new episode.